Hi everyone, my name is Molly Launceford, and I'm a curriculum assistant at iCivics. iCivics is a nonpartisan nonprofit organization and the leading provider for civic education in the US. We serve over 150,000 teachers and nearly 10 million students with free, high-quality, standards-aligned resources for teaching civics. I started with iCivics in the summer of 2019. I assist our curriculum team with the development of curricular resources, as well as manage our help center and marketplace, and obviously present in conferences and workshops. If you have any questions about iCivics or about anything you hear in this session, feel free to email us at support@icivics.org or connect with us on Twitter @iCivics. We're happy to get you any of the answers or resources that you need. This session, we'll go over what civics is and why you should teach it, the new integration of CAMI technology into iCivics, and how the CAMI tools enhance civic skills in iCivics lessons. So first, what is civics? Civics classes teach students the structure of government and the way government impacts the lives of the people living in that country. It also teaches students their role in government and the skills needed to represent oneself. It's not only the what, but also the how and the why. That means to teach civics well, it has to be interactive and engaging. I should hope by now it's clear why civics is important. I started working at iCivics only a year and a half ago, and in that time, the US has gone through not one but two impeachments, a fraught election, and subsequent protests and violent events. Protests due to racial injustice that are still going on, and need I mention the coronavirus pandemic? A year and a half. And it's not just current students that have questions. Everyone is undergoing a civics lesson, a long overdue civics lesson. Can the government make people wear masks? What branch and level of government controls policing or education or the vaccine rollout? How do I make my voice heard? How do I make my voice heard without causing an angry reaction? How do we engage with the government and with each other to move forward peacefully? This is civics, and it is more important than ever. Students need the content. They need to know how their government is structured, who exactly represents them, what kinds of power those people do or do not have, and how the government interacts with its people. But students also need the skills and the dispositions. They need the how and the why. iCivics has entire units on news literacy and media literacy that teach students how to read for bias and misinformation, as well as resources to teach and practice persuasive writing, and lessons about evaluating values and candidates before voting, and the many other skills necessary for being informed. Throughout our lessons are also the skills to think critically and opportunities to engage not only with our materials, but to take that new knowledge outside the classroom and engage with your community. For example, we have a unit called County Solutions that takes students through the process of creating and implementing a civic action plan. It starts with identifying local issues and moves on through the steps of researching and contacting representatives and coming up with an action plan to implement their solutions. When iCivics was started in 2010 by former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, she did what no other Supreme Court justice has ever done. She made video games. Okay, so she didn't exactly make the games, but that is how iCivics started, with games. Justice O'Connor laid our foundation on this cardinal rule: iCivics listens to teachers. It's still our first step in every project, and we make sure that we keep listening. Teachers' needs and feedback direct all of our work, and 10 years ago when iCivics started, we heard the need for fun and engaging materials, and game-based learning is the direction that we took. Our 13 civics video games are still our most popular resources, and for good reason. Game-based learning is really effective. A lot of students have school-associated identities that are damaged, and so games provide them a space for a virtual identity. They get to choose their character, and that character is the one who's making the decisions and who has the risk of failing or succeeding. Students can make choices and receive immediate feedback and revise their choices rather than just right and wrong. It's a journey and it's fun. This sense of agency can help repair the damaged school-associated identities, and as a result, students can participate with less anxiety. It's especially effective for civics because the topic is largely about process and motivation. So with game-based learning, students simulate situations that they're not currently able to participate in. So they can run for president or be a constitutional lawyer. And they pick up the knowledge in a way that's effective and engaging and, above all else, fun. iCivics games are designed to be played within a single class period. They have accompanying teacher guides and pre- and post-game activities. They can be played in a variety of settings, either one-to-one or in small groups or as a whole class, and they require no previous knowledge. They teach you everything you need to know in order to play. The 13 games cover the 3 branches, civic duties and civic engagement, and all of them are available as apps. 9 of these games have been made with special features to support English language learners. These include a Spanish language play option, an English language voiceover, embedded glossaries, illustrated guides, gameplay scaffolding tool, and an accompanying extension pack with ELL modifications. At iCivics, we like to say, come for the games, stay for the 250 plus other free learning resources. And this is where you can find them. This is our Teach Hub. We have digital tools like our web quests, which are guided research activities. They explore a specific civics topic and guide students to pre-selected online resources to learn more. They're made up of slides that break down the topic, offer resource links, and ask questions that help students make connections between what they already know, what they learned from the resource, and how the real world works. WebQuest can be used on individual computers or by the whole class using a projector or interactive whiteboard. Drafting Board is a digital argumentative essay writing tool. Drafting Board walks students through the process step by step, starting with understanding an issue before taking a side, using evidence to support a claim, and addressing the opposing point of view. By the end of their drafting board, students have a complete argumentative essay with an introduction, body, counter-argument, and conclusion. DB quests introduce students to reading primary sources for information that will help them write their responses to a document-based question. DB quests focus students on a guiding question that as they analyze the primary sources. The DB quest tool also targets evidence-based reading skills aligned with Common Core. It helps students analyze a variety of texts, images, and evidence, engages students with meaningful real-life issues, and combines technology and instruction in a blended learning model. Finally are our lesson plans. The iCivics lesson plans are made to be off-the-shelf, print and go, fun and relevant for students, as well as convenient for teachers, and matched to state standards. Our lesson plans all include teacher's guides that clearly state the objectives, timing, resources, and steps needed to complete the lesson. The student reading and activity pages focus on conveying difficult material in a way that's interesting and accessible. And we provide teacher keys, supportive transparencies, and activity guides. And some of those include PowerPoints and Google slide decks. We also have a series of infographics, which lay out civics topics and current issues in a visually engaging way and incorporate the much needed visual literacy skills into the content. We've recently begun developing resources for professional development. We have 3 PD resources: Teaching Controversial Issues, Teaching Online Masterclass, and Teaching with Primary Sources, as well as registration for upcoming webinars by the iCivics staff and recording of previous webinars. This is where you'll find the recording of this presentation. You may have noticed on the previous slide that we tout how great we are for print and go. iCivics has hundreds of lessons in PDF format, and teachers love our lessons for their structure, the style, and the ability to use them with other resources in their classrooms. Unfortunately, when COVID hit and schools were no longer in person, our PDFs became a bit cumbersome. As many of you know, even the lessons that have fillable fields, some of the most popular learning management systems don't transfer the fillable fields when the PDF is assigned to the students. You also lose out on some creativity depending on the PDF reader that the students have. You lose out on the ability to keep track of student submissions and edits, plus students have to add one more download, one more login, one more step to even accessing their assignment. We hear you. So we got together with Cami. With Cami, students can annotate and mark up iCivics lessons within their web browsers, empowering them to think, collaborate, and succeed in a more creative way. We integrated the Cami technology into our site, so when you log into iCivics, you're able to use the Cami tools on our lessons, whether or not you're signed into Cami. This means one less login and one less tab open on your computer. If you're new to iCivics, you'll need to sign up for a free educator account and create a class with your students in it. At this time, we are integrated with Google Classroom and Clever, so you can import your rosters through a quick sync. Once you're all set up, you'll be able to explore the full iCivics library and start creating your assignments. Let's go through a couple of resources so I can show you how Cami tools can enhance your students' learning of civics. The first thing you'll do is go to iCivics.org and log in or sign up with the purple button in the top right corner. This is the iCivics homepage. Cami tools can be used with almost all of our PDF resources, and those will mainly be found in the Teach Hub. Our resources are sorted by topic into units. Just like a textbook may have chapters, our Teach Hub has units. And if this is our textbook, then our glossary is our scope and sequence document. You can find the scope and sequence in the top row of tiles, and it will open up into a PDF in another tab. It starts with a brief overview of all of our lessons, and then as you scroll down, you'll see all of our units broken up into middle and high school. This is how they appear in each of the curriculum units on the Teach Hub. Each of the lesson titles is hyperlinked, so if you click on a title, you'll be able to go straight to that resource. I'll start by showing you a lesson from our news literacy unit about misinformation. All our resources pages look like this. The title and description are at the top, then the lesson objectives, lesson materials. A few of our lessons are classroom or group activities that really don't make sense with digital learning. So you won't see this assign using Cami section. It'll just have this downloadable resources section. Most of them, though, like this one, do contain the assign using Cami section with the option to preview or assign. And then there's a link here with an FAQ about the Cami tools that iCivics offers. At the bottom is the downloadable resources section. This is where you can access the PDF outside of the Cami viewer and where you'll see the teacher's guide. Let's open that first. In this lesson plan, you'll see all the information you need to share this lesson with your students. Back before the coronavirus, when we used to present in conferences in person, one of the most common things we would hear from teachers is, hey, I have a sub teaching an iCivics lesson in my class right now because iCivics lesson plans are just so guided and really take you through all the processes. The lesson plan shows you the amount of time needed to teach the lesson. It'll show you the materials that you need, as well as the handouts, the objectives, and this step-by-step of implementing this lesson into your classroom. Let's go back to the resource page, and we'll preview the lesson with Cami. When you click Preview with Cami, a new window will open for you. It's still the iCivics.org website, but you'll see the lesson in the Cami viewer. This preview is exactly what your students will see when you assign the lesson to them. It only includes the student pages from the lesson. A couple of the CAMI tools we were really excited about were the ones that were helping us make iCivics more accessible. These are the dictionary tool and the text-to-speech tool. The dictionary tool allows students to highlight a word, and the Oxford English Dictionary definition of that word will pop up. iCivics has built-in glossaries in our games that have ELL support features. So if a word could cause someone who's learning English to stumble, students can click to see a definition. The ability to replicate this in our lessons using the CAMI tool is a huge asset and step forward when it comes to accessibility for students learning English or slow readers. The text-to-speech tool is another one that we're really excited about. This, as well as the speech-to-text comment feature, opens up access for students of many abilities to engage with iCivics lessons. Students can highlight a passage or sentence, and a voice will read the text aloud to them.
They're gonna get you if you don't know what to look for.
And that sentence was a bit more ominous than I anticipated, but the point is, it can be ominous for many more people now. The other CAMI features further allow students to dig into these materials. Like I said before, civics is a topic about engagement, so it has to be taught in a way that is engaging. Reading and lecture are fine, but with CAMI, students have the tools to really interact. The markup tools like highlighting, underlining, and strike through are great for annotation. For news literacy, this can be looking at news sources or examples and highlighting the adjectives in yellow, underlining any unverified sources, and using the strike through for any unverified information. With the comments feature, you could ask students to engage further with the text by including their own questions or by asking them to provide their own examples. In this lesson, I may ask students to research a story that has been disproven and include that in the comment that they categorize as one of those common tricks. This lets the student connect what they're reading in class with what's going on outside of class. And with civics, there's always something going on. One of our favorite debunking sites is factcheck.org, which is run by the Annenberg Policy Institute. And then there's the text box tool. This is going to be the most used feature for iCivics lessons. Most of our activities require a written response. So the text box will be what allows students to complete the majority of the activities. However, for this activity, students are required to use several tools to complete it. They need the drawing tool to draw the arrows from the type of misinformation to the example in the question, the highlighting tool to highlight the evidence of misinformation, and the text tool to write the type of misinformation, as well as the search term to find more information on the topic. Of course, drawing with a computer cursor is always a bit tricky, but we can be clear enough to get to the point. Also, with all the color options, we can color code to be very clear with what lines go with what highlight options. This is one of the many reasons it's important to preview lessons before assigning it, as you can include these in your assignment instructions. Please note that any edits you make to this preview will not be saved or sent to your students. The document they receive will be what you saw when you opened your preview. To assign this lesson, leave the preview and head back to the resource page. Click Assign with CAMI, and add in the information required. Got our title and our due date, and then you can add instructions about highlighting, underlining, and adding comments. and then you'll select the class that you want to set the assignment for and click Save. If you've synced your classrooms with Google Classroom, this assignment will show up in your students' Google Classroom accounts. You can check student progress by going to your My iCivics profile in the top right corner, selecting the Classes tab, and then selecting the class for which you set the assignment. Next to the assignment name, you can click View Details, and you'll see your roster. And when students have started or completed, you'll be able to tell. And once a student has submitted their assignment, there will be a link on the right for you to see the answers that they've put in there. You'll also have the ability to edit that document, and students always have access to their old assignments. But if a student edits the assignment after submitting it, don't worry, you can see what time they edited it last. Right, let's take a look at one of our other resources, Infographics. Infographics are a great way to engage students with material with both in-person and remote learning. The resources are visually engaging and break up information in a way that is logical, memorable, and interesting. It can be a great way to introduce or guide a lesson because it doesn't have too much text and it really gives the big picture of the lesson. When we heard Cami was joining iCivics, we thought it was a great opportunity to move beyond just visuals in our infographics. We created this infographic called The Spectrum of State Election Laws. In January, some voters were still casting ballots in the Georgia runoff election. That, along with other news reports of states doing things just a little bit differently, we wanted to give students a chance to explore the laws that organize and facilitate elections, and to see how their state compares to others. This infographic pairs perfectly with Cami. Students get the initial introduction to the topic, and then they can use the text box tool to write the name of their state. Now, this infographic isn't meant to be a pop quiz. It will require students to do some research, which means it will require students to use their new excellent news literacy skills to find trustworthy sources. You can send them off to find those, or you can just direct them to the proper .gov website like the Secretary of State website. Students can find what their state does regarding each of these election-related laws, and they can use the drawing or shapes tool to mark their answer. Then they can use the comment tool to cite their sources. Your students may begin noticing that often the middle option is a really wide range. For voter registration, it goes from no registration needed at all, or same-day voter registration, and then in between is anywhere from 1 to 30 days before an election. If you live in a state that's in that range, have your students make a text box to specify how many days it is in their state. Have you noticed that the number of states for each category adds up to 51 instead of 50? That's because the District of Columbia votes in federal elections. But what about the other territories? This is just one discussion question and activity that can come out of this infographic and activity. You can also point out some of the categories with major gaps where states tend to agree or disagree, like how all but one state requires registration, or how only 3 states require a court order in order to recount an election. With Cami, this infographic got a lot more fun and interesting. And with Cami, iCivics resources will continue to be more interactive and more engaging than ever before. You can find information about our integration with Cami and about all other things iCivics in our Help Center, which you can get to by going to the bottom of any iCivics screen and clicking on this small question mark here. You can also email us at support@icivics.org and connect with us on Twitter @iCivics. I want to thank you all for joining this session and for letting me introduce you to iCivics and our new integration with Cami technology. I also want to thank Cami for giving me the opportunity to be here speaking with you at Cami Connect. I hope this session was helpful for you, and I look forward to answering any questions that you might have for me. Thank you.